come on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Well, as expected, Star Wars news is still pretty slow. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How you doing?
Feeling a little tongue-tied.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Can't talk. But Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars is
Well, I guess we're in like week 36 of the SAG strike, so I guess this is what we get.
right. Well, there is that. I mean, you know.
So this is like kind of like a limbo kind of thing, right? Like how long can you go?
So it kind of started with the writers, right? Writers, then it went to actors, the SAG, and I don't know. I just
Which was really funny when it happened because when SAG joined the strike, it was like, we're standing with the writers.
right.
Well, the writers signed a deal. What the hell are you doing?
Exactly.
Proving you can strike longer than everyone else.
Yep. That's funny.
You know, it's funny though. It railroad union goes on strike. The White House has to step in.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, UAW goes on strike. White House has to step in.
Right.
Actors go on strike. No one gives a shit.
That's seems to be the general consensus right there. Yes.
I hate to be so blunt about it, but
Yeah, well, we talked about this a long time ago. It's like there's a lot of stuff, that we haven't watched because of, there's so much stuff. Well, this is our chance to go back and catch up on other stuff.
I mean, you could probably stop the average person and go, "What do you think about the Screen Actors Guild strike?" And they'd be like, "They're on strike."
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. I saw something on the news with some people in LA with some signs. I don't know.
Yeah. I saw Jack Black talking about something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me.
It is. It's
like all the other strikes to me made sense, right?
Right.
This one I'm just struggling with.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want AI to take our jobs. Well, aren't you the people that were telling us, like, in all your skits and stuff like that, to not be upset about self-checkout?
Right.
Just saying.
Yep.
Just saying.
Exactly.
I watched some of the late night comedy, right? Like,
Sure.
And you were making fun of us. How's it feel,
Exactly.
sucker?
Exactly. Okay, I'm going there. You almost want to just say, "Hey, learn to code," right? But
Oh yeah, go for it, right?
except now, you can just tell AI what you want it to code, and it'll just spit you some code out. So hey,
AI, which is still a joke, by the way.
I mean,
but...
we're talking about like Chat GPT or something. It can create and write code for you if you tell it what you want, and it's
as long as it's known.
Fairly successful. Right, yeah. I mean, it's ripping other people's code off, for sure.
Right, it's not artificial intelligence, which is my argument, right?
Yes,
like,
no, sure.
As long as it's known and already aggregated data, it can do it.
Yeah.
That's not artificial intelligence. It can't make new shit.
Yeah, it's hey, sometimes the genius is putting this thing together with that thing to make new thing,
Right.
But you can do that now without having to hire a team of coders.
Right. We have really, really good data aggregators now.
Yes.
That's what we can say. Artificial intelligence, this is a lack of intelligence saying we got a thing.
Right.
No offense, people. But These are aggregators.
Exactly. Yeah.
And not necessarily good ones, because if you fill them with bad data, guess what? They screw up a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So until it can figure out that, oh, this is bad data, it's not quite there.
Right.
Because, hey, go look at all the AI songs out there. They're really bad.
Yeah, and I would have to say for the what do you call them, the background actors, that they're really concerned about. This seems more like a CGI artist problem as opposed to an AI problem. It's
right.
Yeah.
But hey, good for them. They can keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I bet they can hold out longer.
I bet you they can.
So, all right. Star Wars news. We got to do that first.
Oh, yeah. All of the Star Wars news that there is.
All 2 things I think we got. All right. So, during our pre-show, Doug, you held back some information from me.
Yes, because this is amazing news.
Yeah, so Daisy Ridley, there's apparently some news on her new Star Wars.
Right. So, apparently Daisy Ridley's new Star Wars movie gets a rumored title and exciting script update. Okay. A Reddit user on the Star Wars leaks page has claimed that their sources tell them that the title of the new Star Wars film is, are you ready?
Oh boy.
Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
A New Beginning. Come on, let me have
They
it.
They got that from AI, didn't they?
Probably so.
A new beginning.
Yes. Goes on to say, this title appears to be in reference to the movie's position as a post-Skywalker saga story, where Rey will attempt to restart. I know. I thought she was a Skywalker now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought they solved that. We still got Skywalkers because she's one now.
I know.
She got the blessing of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Like,
right. So this is where Rey will attempt to restart the Jedi Order from the ground up following the group's decimation at the hands of the Sith.
Decimation.
I know.
They use that word.
They only took out 10% of them.
Yeah. So we're good.
Exactly.
We're good. I love the use of the word decimation.
Yes, I know. It's
like
great.
People seem to think decimation means they're all gone.
Yeah, completely
no.
wiped out. No.
That's 10%.
Exactly.
Damn.
So anyway, yeah, this has not officially been confirmed by Lucasfilm or Disney. It's just a rumor, but I thought you would love that title.
Well, I mean, not being confirmed, it gives it the best shot, I think.
Right. I just, okay. A new beginning. It's like,
that's
man.
horrible.
I mean, we started with A New Hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, just before Rebels comes out, we had A New Dawn, and it's always a new something here or another. I don't know.
They should have called it Star Wars. Come on, we're trying. Like,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Or please give us a chance. Like something else, like a new beginning.
A New Beginning.
So, I mean, it's from Reddit, so
yeah,
grain of salt, right?
Grain of salt, but none of it would surprise me, to be honest about it. This is, I don't know. because I can envision.
What would be more accurate is like, hey, with this title, we decimated Star Wars fans.
Yes, that might be true.
10% checked.
Gone.
Out.
Yep. Yes. But I could imagine a one of those story pitch meetings in a Lucasfilm boardroom type setting, and someone says, "I've got it. Star Wars, a new beginning. Because we're starting over." It's like, oh my God.
And someone was like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Ugh. They should have Dave Filoni there. Was like, hey guys,
Yeah, I know. It's like,
no.
is that it? Is that all you got? Yeah.
We did better naming the Mandalorian.
Right. Yes. And the first episode was called The Child. So,
Like, you should listen to me. We called the show The Book of Boba Fett. There wasn't one book.
Right. Oh, God. That's hilarious.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it
A
is.
new beginning. Like, this is like you said, it's a Reddit post. I don't buy this one. I don't buy that A New Beginning would even make it through committee.
Right.
I just don't see it.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Especially, man, you end the series with now she's Rey Skywalker.
Right.
It's not a new beginning.
You're carrying on a legacy.
A legacy, right? Like, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Right.
Just sounds like we're in the middle of a strike and people are grasping at straws.
I think you're right. In fact, I'm going to move us on to our next piece of Star Wars news. Because, there's so much going on in Star Wars that, all week, all I've been seeing is this rumor that's popped back up. Because it's come around before, and then it went away, and now it was back. That Kevin Feige was going to leave Marvel and take over Star Wars.
Well, I mean, if I were him, I'd want to jump ship too. But
Right.
Yeah, once again, don't buy it.
Well, you consider the Hollywood Reporter reputable, right? I mean,
Somewhat.
So from the Hollywood Reporter, Kevin Feige is no longer headed to a galaxy far, far away.
At all.
The Marvel Studios boss, who was developing a Star Wars feature to produce, is moving on to other things as he focuses on the dozens of films and TV shows on his plate in the MCU. When asked if his Star Wars feature was happening, he told Entertainment Tonight simply, no. So it's like, well, I guess that just puts an exclamation point on it, doesn't it? It's like, that's it.
Like, oh boy.
I mean,
so his film's not even happening, but he's going to take over Star Wars?
that's what I've been hearing all week long. It's like, okay, wow, maybe there's something to this, and then apparently not. Okay.
I mean, okay. I'm just curious, why at this point would our saving grace be Kevin Feige?
I don't know.
Because I've been watching the MCU fall apart.
Right?
Like, okay, yeah, it worked out for a while,
Uh-huh.
but now the wheels are off.
Yes. The people who were in love with the MCU 10 years ago, and that's all they could talk about, MCU this, MCU that, you know, they don't even talk about it anymore.
No, I mean, look at. Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yep.
Go to Infinity War. Watch those films, like everything that and prior,
Right?
and then look at what they've come out with since. Is it even on the same level? No,
No.
not even close. And I didn't think those were good to begin with. So, like,
Right.
I mean, I just thought they were pretty generic. Like, I shouldn't say I didn't think they were good. I didn't think they were everything people made them out to be.
Exactly.
They were good. Like, they were good for what they were.
Right.
But they were not the mind-bending stories that people thought they were. They just
Exactly.
weren't. Never were. Not from Iron Man 1. Okay? It just
Right.
never was. You know, they started with stories that were good comic book stories, and then they slowly regurgitated the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until it was like, okay, this is same old, but they're adding better theme music to it. I don't know. Like,
Right.
like, I don't know. Like, I lost interest after Age of Ultron. Like, was completely checked out.
Right.
Like, I felt like I'd watched the same thing enough. Characters are good. Actors are good. You're just telling the same story over and over again. I'm kind of losing interest.
Yeah.
And then I went back and watched all the films, and it was like, okay, they're okay. Still doing the same thing as the reason why I left,
Right.
with the exception of a couple films like Black Panther that had a fresh kind of thing going on.
Right.
Ant-Man, I felt like that had a fresh kind of thing going on.
Sure.
But everything else, it was just like, blah, here's the same thing we've been doing, but with new music. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
like even Doctor Strange, you know, they did Doctor Strange and it was the same thing, but it was flashing lights,
Uh-huh.
and that made it different somehow.
Well, have flashy lights, Joe. I mean,
I know. Yeah, dude, they turned buildings sideways.
oh my God. Yes. Sorry.
That's kind of what I felt like.
We're being very sarcastic now. It's-
Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. But I just never felt like they were putting much effort into the story. It was all into the visuals and, like I said, playing the right music at the right time. And it made you feel like they were doing something special.
Right.
Just didn't resonate with me. It's me. I know a lot of people really dug it, but I'm sorry, but because a guy gets a different colored stone to put in his gauntlet, you can tell the same story that you told before, but it ends with him putting a stone in a gauntlet. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't change anything for me.
Right.
You still told the same story to get there. So, I don't know. And then you take characters that were important in these stories along the way and you make jokes out of them the Mandarin, stuff like that.
Right.
Sorry, not going to get on board. You know, you think Whiplash is a good villain. No, it's... Hey, Spider-Man was doing all right, though.
Yeah, sure.
Deadpool's doing all right. Hey, I noticed something here. Those are different studios.
Oh, hey, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's don't know how that guy's going to save Star Wars.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to happen. So.
No, it's probably Reddit again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
And thus concludes our Star Wars news.
It's really not much, is it?
No, it's not.
Whew.
Once upon a midnight dreary, as I pondered weak and weary, there came a knocking at my back porch.
He ain't very original, is he?
But hey, Doug, you sent me down the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. And you decided we're going to follow another show.
Well, I didn't exclusively do this. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, let's.
I know. I understand.
Yeah.
You pointed. You were like, "Hey, we should watch this," and you had no idea what this was going to do to me.
Exactly. It was not on purpose. That's for sure.
Oh man. So the fall of the House of Usher.
Yes.
We got to the second episode, which is the Masque of Red Death.
Yes. Let me just say, these ushers, they're a bunch of freaks.
Dude. Yeah, this family's going through some shit, just saying.
Yes.
But I think with this episode, we kind of got the vibe of what they're going for here. You know, we tried to take it too literal in the beginning. It's called Fall of the House of Usher. We look at that poem.
Right.
And it just doesn't line up. We're like, oh, well, maybe they did this just for this Easter egg or that Easter egg. Which there's still tons of Easter eggs, but
sure. Yeah.
Now it starts to line up. I think the fall of the House of Usher is the overarching story. The whole mother thing, that was something they added.
Right.
So Madeline's still in trouble. Roderick's still in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we knew he was in trouble to begin with, but
yeah,
it's not going to end well for them. Just saying. But this story was let's lay the groundwork. Let's establish these characters, and let's get to using Poe stories to tell an overarching story. So they're use this word again, aggregating stories, right?
Right.
So we're telling the fall of the House of Usher, but we're aggregating all those other Poe stories into this story and making it kind of a linear thing. This is why he goes mad.
Right.
So I dig that.
It is cool. I mean, yeah.
And this one in particular, The Masque of Red Death, this was a very modern take on a very old story.
Yep.
And in all honesty, I thought it executed very well. You're still telling the overarching story of the fall of the House of Usher.
Right.
But you take the Masque of Red Death and you tell it almost word for word in a modern take.
Right.
I thought that was fantastic.
So in the modern take, I mean, to kind of like lay out what you're talking about, we have Prospero, who's in the old story is what, a prince, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like a prince in the Usher family, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
The old story isolates himself with a select group of sycophants, basically, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they just party down while the world's going to hell around them outside.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have an exclusive rave or something like that. And, you know, just decadence. And kind of the same thing. Now they're like, you know, the way they're taken out is a little different, but, you know, kind of along the same lines. It's interesting.
Well, they really didn't want to make this guy throwing a party during COVID, did they?
That's true. That is a true statement there. Yeah.
I mean, which
kind of what I was tiptoeing around, I guess, but you know.
No, but I kind of thought that's what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because I made it a point, like, okay, read the poem, and then watch the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, they're going to do that, aren't they? This guy's going to throw a party during COVID.
Right.
Thank God they didn't do that.
Agreed.
Because, man, that just would have created a shitstorm.
Yeah, really.
I thought the way they executed it was really nice.
It was cool because it actually...
I shouldn't say really nice. Like,
yeah.
They all died.
But it kind of falls in line with their other overarching plot point of the pharmaceutical family and how not only are they responsible for a lot of the public's addiction and health problems from the pharmaceutical, it's their plants and research centers around the country are, you know, toxic waste dumps at this point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then this episode falls right in line with that.
Yeah. You know, it was funny because I got so wrapped up in all these extra Easter eggs last week,
right,
that I like completely missed the name Prospero.
Oh,
like, oh wow, like Prospero, Masquerade, duh, right. So his kid is literally going to tell another story.
Yep.
And then now that I know this, coming into this week, it's like, oh wow, it doesn't look good for the rest of his kids. But
no. No, they all going down.
Right, and then like looking back on it, it's like, man, Edgar Allan Poe didn't tell any happy ending stories, did he?
No.
Like there's just nothing good that comes of this.
Right.
But this week did not lack Easter eggs. Well, some of these are Easter eggs that overlap.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I missed in the very first episode was the bartender, right?
Yep.
And all this came from was me going and looking at the cast names.
Okay.
In IMDb. But the bartender, she showed up in the first episode as the bartender. Then in the second episode, she's walking through the party that Prospero's throwing and kind of warning people to get out.
Right.
You know, telling him it's not too late to stop this.
Right.
You know, she's playing the character that carried the Red Death through the original poem, but in a different way. She's trying to get people out of there.
Yes.
Like, and trying to stop it.
Yep.
Kind of. And kind of reveling in the fact that it's still going to happen. Something wrong with this character.
Well, you know, it's funny because that whole speech about that she gives Prospero about how, it's always greatest. The moment just before
Mm-hmm.
is always better than the moment just after. It's always that anticipation that's always the best part.
Right.
And
she gives him every opportunity to stop it.
Yes. She still leaves it in his hands.
Oh yeah. And in a weird way still encourages him to go forward. It's such a strange
Oh yeah.
interaction. Like, she's trying to tell him to stop, but hey, you do you.
Right, yeah.
And then kind of revels in it at the end, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a statement putting the mask on him.
Right. But so that first episode put me on my guard so much for Easter eggs, stuff like that, that when I looked at the names of characters in the cast, because I don't think her name's been mentioned in the show yet.
Yeah, I don't recall it.
But her name's, it's either Verna or Verna, right?
Okay.
But I immediately saw it and I'm like, oh, that's an anagram. Verna. Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh yeah.
Raven.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, holy crap. So this is a character I think we're going to see a bunch of.
Yes. Like in every episode.
But that immediately sent me back and I watched the first episode again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then her interaction in the bar. Now, I'm kind of wondering, what did Roderick and Madeline do? Because she makes a comment like, oh yeah, buy now, pay later. I'm like, wait, what?
Ooh. Oh, that almost sounds like a deal.
Yeah, they made some kind of deal. Is she some kind of demon? Did they make a deal with a demon?
Nice.
Like, what's going on here? So I'm like super looking forward to the next episode because what the hell? Because that scene made zero sense to me when I watched it the first time.
Right.
I thought it was just they ended up in a bar. Granted, she kind of makes an appearance at the end of the first episode because they kind of lead it right before she's here. They show her again in the bar. So they kind of led that she has some involvement afterwards, but it didn't really click the first time I watched it.
Huh. Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but with a name like Verna and Edgar Allan Poe's thing with the Raven.
Oh yeah. I got a feeling this is what would you call it? It's it's going to be there like the whole time.
Right.
Lingering in the background, kind of, maybe pulling the strings on this family.
Well, I don't know if they'll go this route, and I highly doubt they will. But I read a lot of fantasy novels. Okay. And in Celtic mythology, there is a character that is almost like a goddess of death, but she's also like the battle raven.
Okay.
She's known as the Morrigan.
Uh-huh.
So this would be like Irish Celtic mythology, right? So I don't know if that'll be kind of a thing if like this is kind of the Morgan doing whatever, but it just kind of popped in my head. I doubt it.
Okay.
I highly doubt it. It's not, everybody knows Norse mythology, right? Or
Sure.
Greek mythology. Or
Right.
this would be a way outside the box thinking.
Right.
But I was like, it might be a cool way to introduce more historic mythology type stuff into what would be the word for it? Like the modern lexicon, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because how many people know of the Morrigan?
Not many.
So being the Battle Raven, maybe they made a deal with the Battle Raven.
I like it.
Wouldn't hold my breath, but
Right. But I mean, I like this where the one thing about this show, simply from Edgar Allan Poe's works, is if you have any background in them at all, I mean, and we all have some from school, right?
right.
But there's enough there to make you to spark your memory and spark your curiosity to look for all this Easter eggy stuff and let's find out what the origin of where this side plot is coming from, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you call it the rabbit hole you've been down. It's cool that it can actually make us think. There's not a lot of TV out there that does that these days, really.
That's true.
I mean, it's the kind of thinking, to be perfectly honest about it, that as Star Wars fans we do all the time, right? We look at. I'm gonna tie Star Wars back into it. All the stuff that the Ahsoka show had, and all of the Mortis stuff and the Abeloth stuff and all that kind of stuff. It makes us, dive deeper into the lore, the mythology of Star Wars. Well, here we have a show doing the same thing. We're diving deeper into where did all this come from? How does it all connect? And, how are these stories being told for modern day? And, it just works. It seems to be working really well.
Right.
The one thing that we only have a limited amount of so far is our Star Wars connection to this show.
Right, which is Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, and he's been there, but he's just kind of been there. He's got a few lines here and there. It's like, man, I just got a feeling that this character is going to have a more prominent role to play later on. I can't help but feel that way.
Oh, for sure. So, my next Easter egg.
Okay.
You ready for this one?
Lay it on us.
This one, I had to dive because I set a bar last week, right?
Yeah, you did. A high one. Yeah.
So I had to dive and find something that was going to meet that.
Right.
All right. So young Roderick, he goes in to pitch this pill, right?
Yep.
So first we'll get to the pill later and the name of the drug. But
Okay.
the name of the man across from him at the desk is Rufus Griswold,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me read a little bit from this article here. The long simmering tension between Edgar Allan Poe and Rufus W. Griswold
Really?
began when Griswold... yeah.
Oh, is there going to be one of these in every episode? Oh, my Lord.
So far, the head of this pharmaceutical industry, or this pharmaceutical company, the head of it, each time we see Roderick trying to make ground, has been an adversary of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
So one of the things that kind of fueled this feud between Rufus Griswold and Edgar Allan Poe was his battle with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow from last week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Griswold praised Longfellow and Poe didn't like that.
Wow. Man.
So I really like this. They're creating characters that were not only in Poe's stories, but in Poe's life.
Yeah. That is wow. That is the crazy part about this. I really love seeing all the research that went into this, and you know, we're gonna tell this story, but we're gonna put all of our Poe knowledge into it here, and if you dig deep enough, you will find it. You know, it's wow.
Right. Apparently, my Skype's doing something. Translated conversation. What the hell are you talking about?
That's funny.
What the hell? All right, yeah. So my Skype's going nuts.
Well, you sound okay, so.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So back to the drug itself.
Okay.
So what's the name of the drug? Ligadone?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So if you listen to the Edgar Allan Poe poem, Ligeia, you'll kind of get a idea of where this name may have come from.
Aha.
So Ligadone, Ligeia,
Nice.
just kind of a nod. Ligeia, it's about a guy who's essentially strung out on opium,
Okay.
longing for his lost love.
Interesting.
So Ligeia being his lost love.
Okay. Wow.
So pretty wild. They make a drug, opium based, Ligadone,
Right.
and then you have this story, Ligeia. Just a guess, but guessing that kind of has a connection.
Yeah. I mean, with that, with as much other stuff as there is, like all the references, I'm sure this is, like you said, little nod to that, because it what else could it be? I don't think this thing's going to be by accident when everything else is so intentional.
No, I mean, if they were going to be, if it was by accident, they would just call it Oxycontin, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly. That's funny.
no, they came up with a name for a reason. I'm guessing Ligadone comes from Ligeia.
Yeah.
Just makes perfect sense with the way they're going with all this stuff.
Totally. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, I'm just blown away at how in depth this is. I just love it, because it's not like, it's not boilerplate, you know. It's not just regurgitating the same thing that's been going on for, you know, the past 15 years, you know, as far as shows go. It's something new, someone's put a lot of effort into, you know.
Oh no, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, And I would venture to say this is the most creative thing I've watched in years.
Yeah.
And not only is it the most creative, but it's based on something from before.
Exactly.
So, like, it would be one thing to be a completely new thing. It's another to take something old and to put this kind of creative take on it and be this creative with it.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense.
No, you know what? It does make sense. And sparking me to think of something here. Earlier, before we started recording, I said something to you about I don't want to distill all this down into, one little thing here or compare it to something else. But, I said these episodes seem to have a real, the monkey's paw feel to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Consequences for your actions sort of thing and all that, which they do. But then as you were just talking, I had another thought. And this was a movie that I really loved from the 90s, and it was the William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's a lot of, now that was like a word for word dialogue
Mm-hmm.
set in a modern time. You know what I'm saying? So it's similar, but this is a new and independent story, just pulling elements from Poe's work, which is set in a modern time. And
Which actually kind of makes me think, hey, Doug, you think we're going to get the same amount of crap for liking this as we did for liking that? Because I'm also a fan of that Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right, right.
Like, I got a lot of crap for saying that I like that.
So, fortunately for me, I was an adult and I didn't care. I wasn't like in school or anything anymore. So
yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I got ridicule.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. It wasn't so bad for me,
I still get ridicule.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, all my friends are still the same generation that we were then. So
True. Yeah, I did not. In fact, I went and saw that movie with my wife. So, okay.
But yeah, I see what you're coming from with that. This is kind of doing that thing.
Right.
But I feel like this is even more creative.
Yes, because you're pulling elements. If it would be as though someone went to Shakespeare's works, all of them, and pulled from all his different works to make a new and independent story, in modern times using all of Shakespeare's works, yeah.
Because I'll tell you this, if you go like, oh man, Mark Hamill plays Arthur Pym, and you go listen to Arthur Gordon Pym, the stories, right?
Yep.
You will not come up with this guy's a lawyer anywhere. It's just not there.
Right.
He's not a lawyer.
Interesting.
So they are taking all these characters and notes from Poe and they're making a new story, but they're not bailing on everything Poe did. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I did not think when you threw this out there that I would be enjoying this much.
Well, I'm glad. It's better than hey, let's try doing this, and it's like, well, that sucks.
Right. Like, yeah, this could have went way wrong.
Yeah, totally.
This could have went way wrong, like way wrong. But so far, it's really going well, and it's really enjoyable. And if you haven't checked in yet, just saying to all you out there, if you haven't checked into this show yet, it's worth a watch.
It is. I will say, be prepared, because this Usher family is a family of freaks.
Yep.
That's for sure.
This show's very on the adult side.
Yes, yes. And I'd say thus far, most of them are in that category. Yeah. Freaky. Just leave it at that,
Well, I can say looking forward towards next week. If you're familiar with Edgar Allan Poe, and specifically the poem "The Murders at the Rue Morgue," which did get a nod in this episode.
Yes.
The Rue Morgue.
Yes. I think
was mentioned.
Little foreshadowing there. Yeah.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing, and foreshadowed by Camille.
Right.
Things aren't looking good for her next week. Just saying. Just saying. We've had the primates, we've had the Rue Morgue, and we have Camille. Not looking good.
Okay.
Not looking good. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, check it out. I highly recommend taking the time, go listen to these poems. I wouldn't have said this last week at all. At the end of last week's episode, I would have thought that, okay, they're just using some vibes from Edgar Allan Poe.
Right.
But this week was almost, and I say this loosely, but almost word for word. They hit all the important stuff of that poem.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the high points for sure.
Or short story, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It definitely got the overall vibe from its namesake.
Totally.
So I would expect next week to kind of do the same. And I think they're going to use those other Edgar Allan Poe stories to tell the overarching story of the fall of the House of Usher. Not looking good for Madeline in the last episode, just saying.
Right.
Lenore, I'm sorry, it's not looking good for you.
Yeah, got a feeling she'll get lost.
Yep. Yep. Which is sad because that's the only character in the show that is like innocent.
True.
But it's going to make sense when he's talking about his sweet Lenore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. This is a pretty cool modern take on very old stories.
Right.
And stories that we are all at least a little familiar with because of school.
Yep.
So, with that, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media at The Wars and More on X, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. Find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.